Hey, fellow book lovers. Welcome back to another episode of Books Unboxed, the podcast where I dive deep into books like a kid trying to find the last cookie in the jar. And today, folks, we've got ourselves a real treat, one that'll have you questioning the very fabric of destiny, while also making you want to punch someone in the best way possible. Yes, today we're talking about The Secret of the Nagas by Amish Tripathi, the second book in his Shiva Trilogy, and trust me, it's a wild ride. So, in case you've been living under a rock and haven't heard of this series, let me set the stage. We've got Shiva, the Mahadev, god of destruction for those of you who don't know, who has somehow become the epitome of cool. Think of him as the original action hero with a spiritual side. He's been thrust into this world where politics, mythologies, wars, and moral dilemmas collide in an epic narrative. Now, I'll warn you, if you've got the first book, The Immortals of Malua, under your belt, you're probably already familiar with the epic stakes at play here. But if you haven't read it yet, don't fret. I'll give you a quick rundown before diving into this book. Get comfy, folks, because we're about to break down The Secret of the Nagas chapter by chapter with a healthy dose of humor, action, and mythological drama. You ready? Let's go! Chapter 1. The Mysterious Naga. All right, the book kicks off right where we left off in the first one. Shiva, the guy who single-handedly took down an empire of evil, is now faced with a serious problem. His beloved wife Sati is in trouble, cursed by the Nagas, and Shiva is on a quest to find out who these mysterious and feared snake-like creatures are. The Naga curse is a game-changer because if Sati is under their power, everything Shiva has fought for is in jeopardy. Now, Shiva doesn't just pull out his trident and start slaying left and right. No, our boy's smarter than that. He decides to investigate, which means lots of exploring, thinking, and confronting some dark truths. It's like finding out your local coffee shop is secretly serving you decaf when you've been convinced it's a magical caffeine-infused brew all along. It's disturbing, to say the least. But here's where the fun begins. Shiva's not alone in this mission. He's got his loyal friends with him, like Nandi, his warrior buddy, and the ever-wise Brahaspati. Think of him as the Gandalf of this series, but with a lot more sass and a sharp tongue. They're all in this together, trying to untangle the mystery of the Nagas. Chapter 2. In Search of Answers. Shiva's journey isn't a simple one. It's not like he can just Google Naga and get a Wikipedia page with all the answers, though honestly that would make life so much easier. No, Shiva has to deal with political intrigue, ancient conspiracies, and, of course, dealing with people who are absolutely not fond of him asking so many questions. This chapter is all about digging deep, making new alliances, and piecing together the puzzle of the Nagas, which, spoiler alert, is not what it seems. As Shiva digs, he comes to the realization that the Nagas are tied to something much larger than he thought. Not to mention, he's constantly being shadowed by enemies from all sides. The Chandravanshis, the Meluhuns, and every other faction that's either too scared or too powerful to leave him alone. Think of it like playing a game of chess, where every piece is secretly plotting against you. But here's the kicker, while all this is going on, Shiva starts questioning everything. Should he really be the leader? Is he truly the chosen one? Is destiny really in his hands? Or is he just being played by forces far greater than himself? Yeah, I know. That's some deep stuff for a guy who's known for his killer trident skills. Chapter 3. The Battle with the Naga. And now we get to the meat of the story, people. The action is amped up in this chapter. Shiva and his crew end up in a deadly confrontation with the Nagas. Let me just set the scene for you. They're in the thick of it, surrounded by these mysterious, powerful beings that no one fully understands, and the stakes are higher than ever. The battle is intense, and the reader is left wondering, who are the real enemies here? It's not just about physical combat, oh no. Shiva's struggle is as much internal as it is external. He's faced with the nagging realization that the Nagas might not be the villains he's always assumed they were. In fact, the line between good and evil is blurred, a theme that runs throughout the entire trilogy. The battle, while exciting, is also a metaphorical showdown. Shiva's inner demons versus the external ones. Do we destroy everything to start over, or is there a better way to bring peace? The question is not just for Shiva to answer, but for us too. Deep, right? Chapter 4. The Revelation of the Nagas. Oh, this chapter is an absolute game changer. I mean, just when you think you've figured it all out, the book pulls the rug out from under you. Ready for this? The Nagas are not what Shiva thought they were. They aren't these evil, sinister beings with a hidden agenda. No, turns out they're humans who've been cursed with these monstrous forms, and now Shiva has to reckon with the idea that these people, who he once thought were monsters, are just victims. The empathy starts to flood in, and this is where the book gets seriously emotional. This revelation hits Shiva like a ton of bricks. He realizes that the Nagas are suffering, and they've been victimized by forces far beyond their control. It's a turning point in the story where Shiva's perspective starts to shift. Instead of blindly fighting against the Nagas, he starts to ask, how can we fix this? But don't think for a second that the drama stops here. There's still so much more at stake. There are dark forces out there pulling the strings of this entire conflict, and Shiva is at the heart of it all. Chapter 5, The Return of the Naga King. And now we're in full-blown epic mode. The Naga King is revealed, and whoa, did not see that coming. Seriously, I was gasping in disbelief. But here's the thing. The Naga King isn't just some random bad guy. He's someone you might never have suspected, and the layers of his backstory are so rich that it feels like you're reading an entirely new book. The stakes couldn't be higher. Shiva's not just fighting for survival anymore. He's fighting for truth, for justice, and for a world that's been manipulated by those in power for centuries. There's a deep philosophical question here that asks us, what is the cost of truth? It's a battle between old beliefs and new ones, between loyalty and betrayal, and, of course, between Shiva's old self and the god he's becoming. It's heavy stuff, but it's also incredibly rewarding. When you turn that final page, or in my case, scroll, you'll realize that this journey is far from over. Conclusion. Wrapping up the Naga mystery. So here we are. We've taken a wild ride through the secret of the Nagas, and if I'm being honest, it's a trip full of twists, turns, battles, philosophical debates, and a lot of emotional roller coasters. The book brings together action, drama, mythology, and character development in a way that makes you rethink everything you thought you knew about ancient India. And it does all this while keeping you hooked with sharp writing, fascinating mythology, and a really compelling protagonist. By the end of the book, you realize something huge. It's not just about Shiva's journey anymore. It's about how we all grapple with destiny, with the choices we make, and with the human part of us that gets lost in the myths we create. It's about fighting the battles we can't always see and questioning whether we should fight at all. If you're someone who loves a good mix of history, mythology, action, and a dash of spiritual reflection, this book is definitely for you. And if you like plot twists that hit you so hard you need a moment to process, The Secret of the Nagas will leave you reeling. So do I recommend it? Absolutely. I've already made a list of my favorite characters, and I'm itching to find out what happens next. Until then, stay tuned for the next book in the series. But for now, folks, that's a wrap on The Secret of the Nagas. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, no matter what life throws at you, at least you're not cursed with a snake-shaped destiny. Peace out, and happy reading.